Alright, so a while back I did a comparison video between N-Scale and HO scale using two diesels, and those are ST70 ACEs. So since I actually was able to pick up a J-Class and already had the N-Scale J-Class, I figured go and do a separate video for steam engines. Before actually looking at the differences of the models, we're going to look at some key points of each. So I just kind of took a little bit of notes just to remind myself, but the N-Scale roughly is probably around $125 to find one of the Bachmanns on eBay, and that obviously depends on quite a bit. And those are going to be DC. To add sound, I think they're probably around $100, you know, depending on the type of chip and then the speaker, obviously. And then if you want to have the work done, that'll be probably quite a bit more extra, whether or not you do that yourself. And the only brand that I've been able to find in plastic is Bachmann. So for HO, again, seeing a lot of different things come up on eBay. I'm guessing around $250 to $400. The MTH, I think right now, you can still buy brand new for about $400, depending on where you get it from. And then obviously those come with DCC and sound, unless you buy the Bachmann. So if you do find a Broadway Limited, one of their runs of them, or the MTH, those will have DCC and sound. There are some older Broadway Limited models that don't come with sound, but those still come up every once in a while, and they're still a little bit cheaper than $250 usually, depending on who sells them. And then from there you just add a sound chip. So looking at the actual models themselves, and I do have a couple of the historical photos pulled up just to look at the differences, because looking at these two, while these are the similar locomotive, this one is number 603 and this is 611. So some of the actual differences between some of the models would be the drivers. So if I can bring this up here. Right here in that middle, between the middle two wheels of the driver, there's an extra rod there, and that was because some of the first J's were required to have these due to war efforts, things like that. And then the later models like 611, they're able to use less metal, save a little bit of weight on the actual driver weight. So I'll go and start with the nose of each. I'm not going to do an actual overview of each of these, but looking at the nose, quite a bit of detail. The number boards here are going to be illuminated, and since this is an MTH model, the marker lights are illuminated. And I am not entirely sure if Broadway Limited does. I don't think they do. I think they just put a crystal in there so it kind of reflects. Another thing is that because on the MTH model, if I can get this out, there is a coupler slot here. Oh, maybe that's the wrong way. So, either way, I can't seem to get it out, but there's a dummy coupler back here, so if you want to stick that out and actually use it, you can. So, because it's a J, there's not a whole lot of detail on here. I'm going to pull up the N-Scale one. And it's just the basic streamlining. This is a little bit more difficult because of the tender being attached, but get focus. So the 611 does have a dual headlight as well. And if we pull up, you can, I believe you can mount a coupler onto the nose of this. I'm not sure how difficult that is, but it certainly can always be done. So I'm going to move these around to get to the side of each. Like I said, because these are different numbered models, there are going to be a couple of differences. I've already talked about the marker lights, and now looking at the front wheels, there's a little bit of shine, and they are tiny wheels, so those are solid, and that is accurate. I have seen where there are photos of each type of wheel on number 603, whether it's the spoked wheel or the one like on 611. So that is, from what I can tell, accurate. It is kind of an odd feature though, because I have seen the 611 and MTH be accurate just like this one is. Now moving down, I'm trying to look at some of the pictures, because if you look at the Bachmann, This does have this rod coming all the way down. I'm not entirely sure exactly what that does, but 603 does not have that. And looking at some of the pictures, I've seen both with and without. So probably just depends on the year whenever they had to add it or took it off. Again, I'm not entirely sure because there's not a lot of dates on some of the photos that you look at. Going down the actual side detail, again, drivers are pretty much just the drivers. Not a whole lot of detail. The linkage is almost the same, which is pretty good considering. But there is some of the linkage that comes up here. So a lot of that is still going to move the same way. There's nothing that was really skipped. And the back set of trucks are not a whole lot of detail there, but then again, look at the MTH model. Not a whole lot there either, just basic. Now, looking at the top, I'm just going to set this on the side. The MTH one and this particular model does smoke, so it does have the ability you can turn it on or off, and it will synchronize smoke. Detail right here, which again, you have whistles and bell back here, so not entirely sure what this is sticking out, but on the Bachmann, this is mostly just filled in with a little bit of molding, and this is actually dug out. Your whistles and bell, those are actually shiny, so it's plated with something, and same on the Bachmann. As you can kind of see, it's a little bit duller, but still all the same, it is there. Now, coming back to some of the extra detail back here, this is actually dug out, whereas on the Bachmann, it's just molded in place. There's nothing really there. And then on the MTH model, for your cab, you do have these actually move. And I'm pretty sure the BLI does the same thing. So, because I can disconnect the tender, look at the cab detail. If you look at it into the Bachmann, yeah, there's some detail, just molded plastic. And you can't take that apart. I mean, I guess you can, but it's not meant to be by any means. Cab detail on the MTH. Get some light in there. You do have cab figures. There's a curtain here. That's not movable, but it does go around. And there's a little bit of gauge detail in there. Like I said, not much, but it is nonetheless there. And of course, step across, which the Bachmann does not have. The tender I'm not going to cover a whole lot because this is a streamlined tender and there's not really much to this anyway. So, you still have the same kind of grab irons. They are silver on the Bachmann, whereas the MTH is not. It's actually color matched. Which, speaking of color, if you can kind of get these together, you can tell that the red that was used is a little bit brighter on the Bachmann. And it is a little bit difficult to pull up on some of the pictures. Like there's 611. It looks bright there, but the whole picture is bright, so I guess see it in person and kind of judge for yourself, really, just to see which one is going to be better. Now, because this is the comparison between N-Scale HO, right, this is going to take up far less space. It is literally half. It's half the length, half the size. So, I will say that between Bachmann, not the favorite brand, there is nothing else in plastic that's made in N-Scale, which you can't find brass, but that's going to be quite a bit more. With the MTH, the reason why I have this is because I was able to pick it up at a decent price. So, I do like the engine, how it runs. I will put up a separate video after this for how it sounds, how it runs, and some things that it does. I'm not going to turn on the smoke, but you can actually hear it running with some of the announcements. And I'll hook it up to a passenger train as well. I don't have a track test this. I'm sure there's a ton of videos out there. that would show it's running. It's not DC-AC in sound, it's just DC. And it is a fairly old model anyway. So we'll go and transition into running the HO model. Alright, so here's Norfolk and Western 603 on the track. Let's get a powered up sequence. So this one is rather short. Headlight, marker lights. This is speed step 1.
Stop Petersburg. Watch the step, please. Have a nice day. Tickets, please. Welcome aboard. Ticketed passengers only. Let me help you with your baggage.
Thank you, sir.
Order. Tickets, please.
Now departing for Cincinnati, track 2, train number 15, Cavalry.
Pardon me. Step right this way.
Thank you.
All aboard! I see the conductor checked his watch again. Must be time to go.